Welcome back to Books in Minutes. Today, we'll be exploring one of the most influential psychology books of the last few decades, Willpower, by Roy Baumeister and John Tierney. This book is about something we all struggle with, self-control. From resisting junk food, to saving money, to staying focused on work, willpower is the invisible force that determines whether we fail or succeed. Baumeister, one of the world's leading cytologists, along with journalist John Tierney, dives deep into decades of research and experiments to explain how willpower works, why it often fails us, and most importantly, how we can strengthen it. Over the next hour, we'll walk through the major lessons of the book, breaking down the science into practical insights you can apply in your daily life. So let's begin. The authors begin with a simple claim: willpower is the greatest human strength. Why? Because almost every area of life, health, career, education, relationships, depends on it. Intelligence and talent matter, but research shows that self-control is a stronger predictor of long-term success. Baumeister explains that willpower isn't some mystical force, it's a biological function. Just like a muscle, it can be strong or weak. When we use it too much, it gets tired, but with practice, it can be strengthened over time. The book challenges the idea that failures in life are just due to laziness or lack of character. Instead, many failures come from poor willpower management. People overestimate how much self-control they really have, waste it on trivial decisions, and then run out when it really matters. The central metaphor is this: your willpower is like a battery. Every act of self-control drains some of it. If you spend the whole morning resisting temptations, by evening you may have nothing left to resist that midnight snack. Understanding this simple truth, that willpower is limited, forms the foundation of the book. One of Baumeister's most famous discoveries is the phenomenon called ego depletion. In an experiment, hungry participants were seated in a room with plates of cookies and radishes. Some were told they could eat cookies, others were forced to eat only radishes while resisting the tempting smell of chocolate. Later, everyone was given difficult puzzles to solve. The cookie eaters lasted far longer than the radish eaters, who gave up quickly. What happened? The radish group had already spent their self-control resisting the cookies. By the time they reached the puzzles, their willpower battery was depleted. This experiment, and many others like it, showed that willpower is a finite resource. Resisting temptation, controlling emotions, making decisions, all of these draw from the same pool of energy. But what fuels this pool? Interestingly, Baumeister's research connected it to glucose, the simple sugar in our bloodstream. When glucose levels drop, self-control weakens. This explains why judges were more lenient after meals, or why people make worse financial choices when hungry. The lesson? Willpower is real, it's physical, and it runs out when overused. Every day we make hundreds of decisions. What to wear, what to eat, which email to answer first. Baumeister shows that each decision drains willpower, even tiny ones. This is called decision fatigue. The more choices you make, the harder each choice becomes, and the worse your decisions get. A striking example comes from parole judges. In one study, judges were more likely to grant parole in the morning or right after lunch, but as the day went on, their approval rates dropped sharply. Why? Decision fatigue. With each case, their willpower drained, and eventually they defaulted to the safest, easiest decision, denying parole. In modern life, decision fatigue is everywhere. Shopping malls, online stores, even our closet. That's why people like Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg wore the same outfit every day. By eliminating small decisions, they saved willpower for big ones. The takeaway is, simplify your life, automate routines, reduce trivial choices so you can use your mental energy where it really counts. If willpower is limited, How do successful people manage to achieve so much? The secret, Baumeister argues, is habits. Habits remove the need for conscious effort. Once something becomes automatic, it no longer drains willpower. Think of brushing your teeth. You don't debate it, you just do it. The authors emphasize building strong routines that support your goals. For example, if you want to exercise, schedule it at the same time every day. Over time, it becomes automatic, and you no longer waste energy deciding whether or not to work out. Another powerful strategy is pre-commitment, making decisions in advance so you don't need to fight temptation later. Ulysses in Greek mythology tied himself to the mast so he wouldn't fall victim to the siren's song. In modern life, this might mean leaving your credit card at home to avoid impulse spending, or deleting distracting apps from your phone. Habits and pre-commitments turn willpower from a fragile resource into a lasting system. Baumeister and Tierney explore how self-control plays out in different areas of life. In health, self-control is crucial for dieting, exercising, and resisting addictions. People who develop small daily habits, like eating vegetables first or taking short walks, end up far healthier over time. In money management, self-control predicts financial success better than intelligence. Those who can resist impulse purchases, save regularly, and plan ahead build wealth. In work and productivity, procrastination often comes from depleted willpower. The best strategy isn't to rely on sudden bursts of discipline, but to use implementation intentions, like, if situation X arises, then I will do Y. This turns vague goals into automatic responses. And in relationships, self-control helps partners avoid saying hurtful things during arguments, manage jealousy, and build long-term harmony. Love may spark a relationship, but willpower sustains it. Now comes the practical heart of the book, how to strengthen your self-control muscle. Baumeister offers several proven strategies. Set clear goals. Vague goals like, I'll try to eat better, fail. Specific, measurable goals work better. Self-monitoring. Tracking progress increases self-control. Whether it's counting calories, logging expenses, or recording workouts, awareness boosts discipline. Exercise your willpower muscle. Small acts of restraint, like using your non-dominant hand for tasks or improving your posture, can improve overall self-control. Over time, your willpower capacity grows. Use bright lines. Clear rules are more effective than fuzzy ones. Saying, I never smoke, is stronger than, I'll smoke less. Rest and refuel. Willpower is strongest when the body is well-fed and well-rested. Sleep, breaks, and healthy foods aren't luxuries, they're willpower fuel. By treating willpower like a trainable skill, anyone can increase their capacity for discipline. Despite its power, Baumeister warns against relying solely on self-control. If you constantly fight temptation, you'll eventually lose. The smarter approach is to design your environment to reduce temptations in the first place. For example, instead of keeping cookies in your kitchen and relying on willpower to resist them, simply don't buy cookies. Instead of trying not to check your phone every 5 minutes, put it in another room while working. Another important insight is self-forgiveness. People who beat themselves up after a failure are more likely to relapse. Those who forgive themselves recover faster and move forward. The lesson: don't waste willpower fighting unnecessary battles. Conserve it, protect it, and use it wisely. One of the most famous studies in psychology is the marshmallow test. Children were given a choice: eat 1 marshmallow now or wait and get 2 later. Decades later, researchers found that the kids who resisted temptation had higher SAT scores, better health, and more successful careers. This experiment highlights the central theme of the book. Self-control predicts success better than almost anything else. Talent helps, but without discipline, it goes wasted. Willpower is the multiplier that turns potential into achievement. Baumeister also broadens the perspective beyond individuals. Societies, too, rely on willpower. Social norms, laws, religions all act as systems of self-control that prevent chaos. Cultures that emphasize discipline and restraint often thrive, while those that indulge every impulse risk collapse. In other words, willpower is not just a personal strength, it's a civilizational strength. As the book closes, the authors leave us with a toolkit for everyday life. Create structure and routines. Track your progress. Avoid unnecessary decisions. Build habits to automate discipline. Conserve your willpower for the battles that matter most.